So where we're going to get started here is with building a schedule. So here I am within a project. So if you go to the projects tab and then double click into a project, this is our landing page. So what we're going to see here is that we've got an old schedule and we're going to import over this one. This is based on the DIRT standard schedule. So when we import a schedule, and this is still a relatively new option, so my guess is that for most people, when they click this import schedule option, you're just going to have the one option. That is this DIRT standard schedule template. If you've created additional templates under the My Company page, you'll be able to find those here as well. And what you can do is you can import one of these schedule templates either to add it to your existing schedule or to override it. So the only thing that we'll have to do is we'll have to make that selection whether we want to add or override it. And I'm going to choose add for this first one. And we'll do override here in a minute as well. But I'm going to add it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a date. I'm going to pick July 27th here. And what this date is going to be used for is this finish date is going to back into all of the rest of the dates here from this standard template. So I'll either single click and then hit select here or double click into it, and that will start the process of importing this schedule. And once it's imported here, what we'll see is that July 27th date is used here for the project finish date. So you can see that everything else has been backed into. Everything else kind of precedes it. So with that in mind, what you'll notice is that all of the schedule templates, what really matters here is the gapping between any of these dates. So let's take a look at a schedule template, and we'll kind of come back to this and re-import one so you can kind of see what I mean as you're building your own template. So we'll go up here to the My Company page, and just as a reminder, this My Company page is where you can manage any of the items or master templates that will really flow through to the rest of the application for yourself. So this landing page will be all of your active users, colleagues, and your company's address and warehouse information. But going over here to the schedule templates, this is where we will manage our custom schedule templates. And there's really, any approach that works for you, whatever you do as far as your standard schedule, you can import or you can set up here, and then you can pull it through to any of your projects at the convert to project stage from your opportunity, or you can also do what we just did, which is to pull it into your project directly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to this CEI training template that is already created. And we can see that this is a little bit different than what the DIRT standard template looks like. The standard template that everyone will have this pre-order entry, field dimensions, etc., all the way down through the project finish date. This one has a couple of child tasks set up under this pre-order entry. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a new schedule item and then create 2 child schedule items beneath it. So where I'm going to do that is I'm going to do this through the Gantt chart. And one note here is that all of the functions that we are going through here on the schedule template will mirror what it looks like on the project as well. So I'm going to click this new button, and that's going to create a new just regular schedule item. So we'll call it new SI. And we'll leave it as, let's see what the dates are, because we always want to pay attention to what is our finish date and make sure that it makes sense within relation to that. So if our finish date is 6/24 and we want this to be a month before our finish, we'll put this as 5/24 and say this particular schedule item is just going to be for that week. We're just going to start it at the beginning of the week. And this way, again, when we import it, all of these relationships are going to stay the same. So it's more important to think about it kind of in that relative sense versus these dates, because these dates will always be overwritten essentially by what you pick when you import it. Great. So we've got our new schedule item here within our Gantt chart. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the child schedule items. So say we want to put something on the Monday and then also on the Thursday. It's really made up of two kind of sub-events under it. So we'll put it as the 22nd for end date for the first one and the 21st for the other. We'll just call this child 1A. And then we're going to set up child 1B as our next one. And this will be for the end of the week. So now that we've got these saved here, where we'll see them on the Gantt chart down here is under this new schedule item. And we're also going to set up the links between the two because we just created these brand new schedule items. You can see that the existing relationships between them are not being captured or are skipping over this item. So this is probably the least intuitive part of the Gantt chart because I think the rest of it is really, it works just how you'd expect it to work. But in order to delete one of these links, what you do is you double click the link and it's going to give you this pop up here and says your link is going to be deleted. So we'll say OK here. And in order to redraw the link, that part is really easy. We just hover over it. So you see these little dots to the sides of your item. Then I'm going to drag it over to the right until this dot on the other side turns orange. And when it does, I know when I let go of my mouse, it will connect the two. And then I'll do the same thing here to the next one. Let it turn orange, and then we're good to go. So with this kind of example in mind, just of these schedule items, you can also connect your child schedule items between each other. And then these child items, once we move them around, you can see that this top schedule item is adjusting as I go. So this parent item will always be the same length as it is between the sum of all of the children's schedule items. One area where that may be helpful for you is if you have several different pieces and components that you want to keep track of, like through the order entry phase. Like one example with talking with another partner was the ordering loose parts. They'll do that during the pre-order entry, and it'd be helpful to be able to capture that as a separate item so that can be closed out as you go through, and so that everyone's kind of on the same page with when that needs to be done in terms of timing as well. So once you've got your schedule up like you would like to see it, you're going to be able to save it down here. And you just want to add a description up here at the top. So you call it your training template and say this is the detailed schedule. So you could do a detailed schedule, or you can do something that's a little bit more basic. But if you write that in there, it'll be easier to remember which one is which. And one other note before we go back to the project is that there's also this how to use button right here. And what this will do, what this shows you, this pop-up shows you, is just a little bit more about the requirements to it. So when importing a schedule template, you always have to have something that is designated as the finish date, and you have to have a template name. Those are really the only two requirements, but the finish date is really the important one because that is used to back end everything else. So the reason we set it up like that versus just looking at your latest schedule item is so that if you had something that you wanted to put like as warranty, whether that be 6 months or 2 years out, whatever that is for you, you really want to base your schedule on actually when you're going to hand over the keys. That's that finish date versus something that might be a lot further out. So you don't have to kind of go way further out in the future to let everything get backed into. So I'm going to click OK there. And then I'm going to go down to the bottom here, and we're going to save this template. So it brings us back to our My Company page. And again, that's accessed through the waffle here. And when we click Save here, that will just close the page, and it'll bring us back to our project. So now that we're back to our project, we can see this is the schedule that we had imported on top of the old one. But this time, what we're going to do is we're going to import the detailed schedule. and we're going to override this instead. So I'm going to pause here real quick because we got a warning. So overriding will delete all existing schedule items on this project, and on-site dates will be cleared from orders. Manual reselection of the on-site dates on orders is required. The reason this is required is because we all know that when we're when we're submitting an order, that the on-site dates are actually being pulled from these schedule items. So because of that overlap there, you'll have to just reselect an on-site date if you've already submitted an order. I think for the majority of situations, this is going to be very rare for you to ever get that warning, because if you're overriding a schedule, it probably means you're very early on in the project and you probably haven't submitted your order yet. I think, if you're doing it later down the road, you'll probably use that add option, like if you have a multi-phase project versus the override. Did that part make sense to those of you on the phone? And I'm kind of going through this relatively quickly. So.
We're good.
Okay, great, thanks. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull in the schedule template. Again, we've got the same finish date that we had here. So 7/27. When we click select, this is going to override all of our existing schedule items. They're all going to be deleted and they're going to be replaced. And what we should see once this finishes importing is we should see that the new schedule item and those child schedule items that we set up here are being pulled in, and they are, which is just what we wanted to see. So with that in mind, we'll just take a look down here at the Gantt chart. We can see those links that we had deleted and redrawn over here are also pulling through as we would expect. And then from here, what you really want to do is you want to do everything that's going to be specific to your project. As an example, if we're looking at pre-order entry and, for whatever reason it pulled in on a Sunday, what we can do is we can pull this forward to make sure that, everything is starting on a Monday, or whatever the dates may be. Like if this is June 4th, but if we have anything that falls on a holiday, we'll want to take a quick look at that. So for July 4th, let's say, we really need to push that install date to the Monday afterwards. So we're just going to pull this over. And, it's really easy to update your schedule items, especially timing wise, because of that drag and drop feature versus, you can also double click into one of these schedule items and you can edit your dates the old fashioned way if you'd like to. So if you just want to move that to the next Monday, you can do that super easily. And then pull it down, I guess that refreshed on us, but you can double click on it. And then you can also drag and drop your schedule items over here on the right, so vertically. So if they're in a different order than you would prefer to see it, like if you wanted to pull our on-site date above here, or maybe pull it down one, we can do that, and that just moves it down on the list here. And then you also have the ability, or I guess we took a look at creating the child schedule items, and you can also edit from over here either by clicking the pencil or by double clicking on this. So if this, if we needed to add a description for it, we can do that. We can do that as well here. But as I mentioned, I think the Gantt chart overall is something that is really intuitive to use. Like the things work just the way you think they work. I think one of the pieces in here about scheduling that has a slight quirk to it is that if you're going to create this Word file, it will have both your Gantt chart as well as a list of your schedule items. But the quirk part of it is that you have to produce the image of the Gantt chart first in order for that Gantt chart to populate here in this Word document. Otherwise, it'll just be the list of schedule items by itself. The really driving reason behind that is because you need to pick which image you want. Do you want the month view, the days view, or the hours view? So I think typically when you're providing this to a general contractor or other stakeholder to use it, I think generally the months option is the one that you'll want to do because you can really see that kind of all kind of cascade down in one view. The days option is definitely for the more detail oriented. Of course, it's going to have all of your dates here. So we'll right. So we've got this one as the days, and I'll go ahead and download this. So after I click that PNG button, this is what pops up. And so when I click it, we can see this Gantt chart, and we can see that it'll go all the way across. It'll show us the entire duration of our project, all of our different schedule items, as well as all of the relationships between them. But let's take a look at the months option. We'll create that one here, and then I will create the Word document at the top. Actually, I cancel it once it's been created. And then you can create the Word document here from the top, and that will let you have both the view with the Gantt chart as well as the full list of your schedule items. So you can see the Gantt chart is here at the top. We need to resize it a little bit because this image or this schedule has a lot of schedule items on it. We did that, and then we got our Gantt chart here on the top, and then all of our schedule items here below it, as well as with all the descriptions in it. So I think one of the other big benefits of building your schedule within Kinetic is that this is your collaborative space. So once you're building your schedule, for at least your team internally, all of these items will show up here together. And then you can also go over to the Schedule Overview tab, and that is where you can view all of your different projects together. So this is showing me my milestones. So this is just showing me that the project finishes here. The project finish date is right here for another, it's the banana stand phase 1. But for the other ones, we can also go over and take a look at all the open items. And this will show us not just our milestones, but also everything else that is a non-milestone type schedule item. And to point out where you would change that to show how you would designate a schedule item as a milestone, that's right here. And that's designated here as yes. And then you can mark it as an install or on-site date, and also that finish date. And that finish date, again, is the one that the system will look at, so it knows how to import all the different items. We'll just leave that blank for this particular one. But yeah, and then you can come over to different months so you can see how much is going on, or if it's once it starts getting a little bit open for your company. There's also a couple more tabs in here in the overview. There's also the list of my milestones. So if you just need to, send this out to Excel because you want all of your schedule items related to everything, you can do that from here. And then the schedule list will show you really everything that is open for projects that are still open. Okay. So hopping back into this project, we'll take a look next at a COM item and creating one of those from Kinetic. And the real big thing here for a COM item is that you can also create the dirt form for doors and hardware directly from here. So you don't have to go and download the latest form. This will always match what dirt is currently using. So one other trick here is if you double click this top gray bar, and I didn't know about this one for a long time, is that you can actually maximize a pop-up, which is pretty handy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to COM type and we'll go to doors and hardware. And you can see that a bunch of extra fields just got added down below. And that is for all of the dirt specific stuff. So we'll just call this COM doors. So the requested date, we're going to request it today, and we're going to say it's going to be required by Friday. The receipt date here is you can come back in and input that once you have received it. The ship date, factory designation, and include all of that information as well. And then the assigned to, you can put either your dirt counterpart or whoever internally needs to be assigned to it. Then you can input your contract information, PID number, as well as the delivery information. All of these fields will work similarly to the way they do in the rest of the application. So if we pick job site here, it'll fill out our information from our project. And then we also have the dirt PM and dirt contact. So we'll need to add those pieces in. This will match to what we'd expect to see for the DP contact rather than the dirt contact. But these fields will really match to what's in the dirt standard form. So I think the last update was about 6 months ago now. And one of the fields added was the info case number. So, what you've emailed into the info@dirt.net email. So we'll just make up a number for it. And then similarly with that last update, all of this door project information fields became kind of dependent on each other. So once we pick either a single or double door, the next will become available. So our door style, it'll only show us the single doors. And if we were to pick an example like the pocket doors, all the rest will really just fill itself out at that point. Or if you're picking some of these other ones, the fields will just have become, they'll be dependent on whatever that makes sense for, like the butt hinge door. We're not gonna have a strike plate style. But we'll go with pocket door for this one. So it'll all be filled out. And then also we can fill out anything else that we need to include here in this other information page. So the hardware, any instructions or additional information. I believe this last part really is just for the dirt side. And then if you have multiple different pieces of, so you can fill in your manufacturer, model number, template, all of that stuff goes here in this last section. And if you do have multiple, you can create new here. I believe the dirt form, it really just has that second page where you can fill everything out. But on this one, you'll just fill them out as you need. So you'll just create them one at a time, up to as many as you need. So once all of that is filled out, just make up some information for this stuff, just so we'll see an output here. And then we'll create this PDF. So you can either submit this PDF or you can also submit directly through here by clicking this send email option. So we'll take a look briefly at this form as well. So this should look pretty familiar to you. The form overall mirrors what the dirt form looks like. So it'll pull in your partner information as well as the dates, and then all of the other information that you have already filled out. And then, of course, this last part was with your custom hardware description, and it's with as many as you need. Last thing to note is that you can also include any related documents. So if there are specific files that you want to provide to your dirt counterpart that will be relevant for them, this is where you do it. So we can just select a couple of files, add them here, and those will be included when you email it out as well from here. So any questions on this part so far? Cool. So I'll keep moving, and if there are any questions, we can also circle back to those at the end. And then just as an additional note here on the overview, we can see all of the COM items here on our calendar as well, just for those of you who are visual and want to see it there. So the last part here that we will cover today are delivery tickets, and that is over here under this tab. And so delivery tickets are really meant to be able to spoon feed as much information as possible to your delivery team so that once they arrive on site, they'll know exactly what they need, when, what date, what time frame the installation is expected to happen, as well as any relevant notes. So within here, we'll have our labor type as well as work order number, title, etc. Then we'll have our project location. All of this stuff will pull through from the existing information if it's been filled in. And then really down here is the meat of the information. It's your product shipping information, the requested date, whether your delivery is regular time or overtime, what time frame it is, does it need to all happen in a single day, and then who's the contact. Then once you've got all of this information filled in here, you can also use the signature function. So once they're on site and implementing all of this stuff, you can ask your client to sign it. What you can do is you can pull it up here, input the name, and then just in one stroke, input a signature, and then you can save it. So the difference here really between the Word version and the PDF version is that the PDF will include a signature and the Word version will not. So just taking a look at an example of a delivery ticket from another partner who allowed us to share this with a larger audience is here. So we've got our project information pulling through as well as the customer information. I've got the location information, and then also the shipping info has been filled in here. So the big note for this particular delivery ticket is that this is going to require a notch in the back due to a piece of plumbing pipe, and we got some pictures attached to it. So with that in mind, we'll skip down to the part where there are the drawings. So we've got a picture here of the piece of plumbing, the piece of pipe that is going to require the millwork to be notched for, and then also the blueprint just showing where location-wise it is overall. So this way, you can put it in here and you can coordinate with your install team. And it's also that really single source of information. So any of the pieces related to your project, you're never guessing around for where it is. You're always coming back here just to this one place for everything.